Good morning, everyone. So today you and I are going to talk about web development versus mobile development. So let's get into it. Now, you may not know this, but this is probably the biggest battle of the IT world right now. That's what's happening right now. It used to be the browser wars. It used to be like different operating systems, and like all these battles were facing off against each other. And in some way, they are still doing that. Some of the battles have a fairly, I'm not going to name any names, but some operating systems are more popular than others, some computers are more popular than others, and some browsers are popular than others. But in mobile development versus web development, that battle is still raging. And right now, I would guesstimate, don't kill me if this is not true, the only true factor is that mobile devices are more and more important. That's the trend we see on the web, that's the trend we see in general, that mobile devices have a bigger impact, and the next generation of users are going to be on a mobile device. Now, the reason why people assume, or rather presume, that this is going to be the case is because if you think about it, right now, most of, if not all of the Western world and the developed countries in the world are on mobile devices, high-end devices, if you will. They're already there. But who isn't? Well, most of the underdeveloped countries of the world are not on mobile devices. So why would it be safe to presume that these countries, which are going to represent the next billion users, like the next generation of users, why is it so likely that they are going to be on mobile devices? Well, because mobile devices are cheap. Low-end devices are cheap, and price is the biggest factor, and accessibility is the biggest factor when you talk about people who do not have the luxuries that you and I and everybody in the more developed countries take for granted. This is actually why you have trends which, like my absolute favorite application to illustrate the trend that is coming our way is Twitter Lite. Twitter Lite, you should check it out. Look at, Google on Twitter Lite and learn about that application and the tricks that they have used in order to optimize for low-end devices on unstable networks. Now, if we accept that this is the most likely going to happen in the future, and we already see the trend, I mean, the research is right now showing us that mobile devices are taking a bigger and bigger part of, representing a bigger amount of the traffic that's coming to your website and to, basically all of the stuff that you're doing these days. So, when do you use one over the other? And why is this, what's the pros and the cons? Let's get into that. So, let's start by talking about mobile devices. The biggest benefit to a mobile device, in my opinion, is two things. Or rather, mobile development, mobile apps, if you will. The first and foremost biggest benefit that you have is the native feel. The responsiveness and the problem with web pages has traditionally been that, because you have a network and you have, there has been this slight issue with performant web pages, and that's honestly, guys, let's just be honest, that's us and our JavaScript addiction talking. The world has been we have heavy web pages, let's just face it. We have too much bullshit, too much stuff on every page, and so the responsiveness of our device, rather the responsiveness that the user is feeling isn't all that great. Native apps do not have this issue. In general, you have to really try to make a native application feel unresponsive. But there's a sensation of quality. Apple does this better than anybody. Their application, they really go hard for UX and responsiveness of that. And that's why their brand is one of the most expensive brands in the world. They have a sense of quality to everything, most of the stuff that they make. That's one of the biggest benefits with a native application. Then you have the other one, which is you have things such as power. Like if you wanted to make a game, let's say you wanted to leverage a lot of graphics rendering and stuff of that nature, it's like, a mobile device is very limited in comparison to something like a desktop or a PC or whatever you want to call it. But even that has, you know, grades to it. And if you wanted to create a mobile game, odds are that you are going to be able to leverage more power than you're going to be able to do in the browser. It's getting better in the browser, it absolutely is. But right now, if you want to do heavy stuff, games or whatever, then you need to do it on the native device. Doing that in the browser is not, depending of course on the game, you can make a very lightweight game graphics wise, but still heavier stuff usually requires a native device. Now, those are the two main benefits, but I would like to add a third one, which I think is a little bit underappreciated, and that is the user's expected behavior with a device, or sorry, with your application. Now, it is so common these days. I think that the usage statistic, or rather that's the usage statistics that I have seen, most users discover a product or a company or so forth through the web in general, like a link or something like that. You get discovered that way. But when you have a reoccurring user, or a user that likes your product or your service or so forth, a reoccurring user, if you will, they really appreciate having a mobile app. Mentally, it's a big investment. Like, most people won't just download an app left and right unless they get recommended it, or like they have some knowledge about the application or have a recommendation or something. But once they do, and it's on their phone, and you just keep, you know, as long as you're on that phone, and you will see that the user actually comes back. Like, take Facebook for example. The usage of Facebook's app is really like it's a perfect use case for this. Like, if you have a web shop, I would say that no, maybe like a phone app isn't like the best thing in the world. But when you have something like a social media platform, or something that requires daily usage or encourages daily usage from your users, it's a perfect fit for that. It's really well designed for that. So that's number 3 for me. And then we have web, of course, where ease of accessibility is the biggest gain. Like, there is nothing out there in IT that is easier than when it comes to, you know, putting if you want a presence and get exposure and have people being able to access it from any device, whatever, then it's web. You put up a web page, everybody can reach it from every device. Now, that's the biggest benefit. Other benefits is that it's a universal standard. It's very, very mature. The ecosystem, it's not perfect. It still has some way to go, but you have CSS, HTML, like, you have all these basic, these technologies that have been around for a long, long, long time. And for the intended use case of the web, like, it's perfect. I think that it's, and I think that's why it's still going so strong. Now, the issue is that you have things that you can't basically do, like push notifications and all of that stuff. It's coming and it's fairly supported, but the issue is that the web has a limitation that you don't have on the native device. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. But the problem is that since the developers and like everybody who's creating these different web technologies, we have to cater and kind of join forces and come up with good standards so that we can, in an effective manner, have our applications work the same way in all the different browsers. And that creates a little bit of a political minefield where you have to like synchronize. It's getting better. It's almost perfect. I'm not perfect is a strong word, but it's getting there. So there's a lot of political trickery and stuff of that nature that has to happen in order for us to progress on the web. And then you have Google that are pushing things such as progressive web applications, because they want, they're trying to win this mobile battle basically. And if that, I would love to see that happens, like the progressive web apps becomes a thing, because honestly, if you could get web pages to work the same way as native applications, that would be amazing, because then you would have a truly universal standard for basically everything. That would be awesome. We're not there just yet, but we're getting there, and I think it's gonna be pretty cool. So what I'm trying to tell you here basically is that when it comes to, you have to remember that this is highly subjective, of course, but I would say that if you are creating the sort of application which is encouraging very regular usage, something, as I said, like a social media platform or something of that nature, where the user is going to take out their phone every 5 minutes and like open your app or whatever, then a mobile device or our mobile native application makes a lot of sense. Remember though that, you know, since we live in a multi-device world, you might have to support it for different multiple platforms, so which is a good consideration to have. You don't have that issue on the web. However, if you have something that is not as frequent, such as a web shop or something where you're selling a product or a service or something like that, then web is, you know, honestly, I would say that web should be your default. And the mobile app thing should be something that you consider if it's a really good use case or like a good fit for your specific product. Because honestly, if I'm being really, really opinionated now, I think I'm on board with Google. I don't like that they are talking as a progressive web apps. It's like the standard that is already here and you should just accept it, because it's not. If you look at caniuse.com or like if you look at the support, it's not very well supported. It's getting there, and I hope it will. Like, I am very excited about that technology. Don't like the political trickery though, but I hope that it becomes a thing, because if we can create web applications that feel and are as powerful, or roughly as powerful, as native applications, I think that would be the best thing for everybody. I really do. I think that would be absolutely amazing. Those are my 2 cents on the matter.